February the 14th, 2019, 10:17 a.m. We're going to title this video Home Automation 2019 Episode 1 Kitchen Lighting Upgrades. For 2019, I'm working on replacing the the combination switch that we was using in previous years with the reactor app, thanks to the combination switch failing to, well, thanks to the combination switch breaking down during the last firmware upgrade. I believe that's when it happened. Before we get into the reactor settings and or testing that configuration that I'm using, I had to change the way plague operated so that I could test the reactor without actually putting the lighting plague and bypass mode, because I have a lot of other stuff going on other than kitchen lighting. So first thing we did was edit the actions right here to turn on the kitchen sink light, which is the main focus of my kitchen lighting system. I edited that, and then I just said, instead of turning the light switch on, I set it to get status, which allows all the rest of the functions and plague to work correctly. Okay, let's come out of that. So for the kitchen lighting system, we have the main light, the kitchen sink light, refrigerator adapter. This is not part of lighting though. Kitchen countdown timer and 2 reactors, and of course the motion combination switch that we use, which is actually the last thing that has to be switched over to the reactors. So first we have the kitchen sink light reactor, which is the main, like I said, the main focus in my kitchen. And we have quite a few groups going on here. Hope you can, this is big enough for you guys to see. Let me make it a little bit bigger first. Okay, the first group is my nighttime setup. And then I have a second group that serves as a backup to the first group for nighttime viewing, nighttime light switch operation. So we have 2 kitchen sensors have to be active. The 2 kitchen sink lights have to be off. Outside light level is below 900, and the kitchen light level has to be equal, less than or equal 8. And then for the second one, we have just 1 kitchen sink sensor, which is over my kitchen sink. Both light switches still have to be off, and the light levels have to be the same, have not been changed. The first group is to prevent false positives, I guess you could say, to turn the light switch on, because I don't want the light switch to turn on unless somebody's in the kitchen. And these 2 sensors make sure that that happens. Now the next 2 groups we have is for daytime operation, because sometimes it can get pretty dark in my kitchen, but the light level outside is, you would say you don't need the light on, but in my kitchen it does. For this one we have 1 sensor in the kitchen, in the center of the kitchen ceiling. Both light switches are off. Current light level above 900, which says there's enough light outside, mainly on partly cloudy or clear days. And then the light level has to be less than or equal 8. Again, these settings are based on the amount of light that comes into my kitchen. So you can set them for whatever you feel is necessary for your own kitchen. And then the second one, again, serves as a backup to the first sensor. The difference being is the light level has to be less than 10 in order for the kitchen sink light to turn on. That was a wife request, so it's a little bit different. Now I only use 1 sensor during the daytime because I really don't care if the light turns on accidentally or not, because we have solar panels. What I found nice about the reactor was that under the activities tab, you can actually put in what you want to happen when the reactor is tripped. So in my case, it's turning on the kitchen sink light. And then we have a second setting to pull the kitchen sink light sensor when it's not tripped. That's just so I can get a faster update, light sensor update. And it's kind of, a lazy way of doing it. Instead of adjusting the configuration on the light sensor itself, I just put this pull command in. It was just easier for me. So if we go back, see the four configuration or the four groups that we have. One thing I did notice is if these groups are in the wrong order, the system turns on and not turns on. There's a delay between motion being detected and the light coming on, which I didn't like. So I think what's happening is that this system reads all the groups top to bottom until it finds one that meets all the conditions to turn the light on. I would assume that's the way things work in home automation systems anyway. But it works fine. It's great. I tested it for 2 or 3 days before I actually put it into place or even set up any actions for it. And it's been working pretty well. So since I haven't figured out everything there is about the reactor, I still use Plague to do certain things. Let me scroll back up here so you see it better. Now the second reactor before we get to Plague is kitchen night reactor. This reactor works directly off of the kitchen sink reactor, so it's not a standalone reactor in any sense of the word. If you look at that, it's a little different. We have my battery switch has to be on, the kitchen sink light has to be on, and the main light switch has to be off in order for this reactor to trip. This is for when I'm running my house off of the battery system at night or during the day if required. And the activities is turn the main light switch on first and then turn the kitchen sink light off. Pretty simple. This just says you only have one light switch on at any one time, and it's only going to be active when my house is running off the battery system. Having said that, my kitchen sink light, my house is a little bit, my battery system is a little bit different from most things you will see. My kitchen sink light at night runs off of the grid only, whereas my main light switch can get its power from the grid or my battery system. So at night, I don't want to get power from the grid if I don't have to. I'll prefer to get it off the main light switch, so I save a few watts each time my battery system is running. Now for Plague, I don't really have to do anything here because the kitchen sink light condition does not actually do anything. So we can actually get rid of this condition because it's not used. How I like to do it is I like to go to actions first, remove the action, remove the action. Oops. Did I just delete 2 of them? Hold on. Shit, I hope I didn't fuck that up. But I'll come back and fix it anyway. Then remove the kitchen sink light conditions since we don't need that. Make sure I don't mess up something. Okay. So what we're left with is start the kitchen sink timer, or the kitchen timer, which turns the light off when the kitchen sink light, when the timer runs out. Cancel the timer, turn off the 2 lights, and when both lights are on, turn the main light on and the kitchen sink light off. Same as what the reactor I showed you earlier does, But this also functions when the main light switch is manually turned on. Hope all this stuff makes sense. So we're done with this now. Let me reload. I like to do that just to make sure everything, all the changes get made. And we're done. So it's a little slight change from what I used to use. It's just that I put everything in the reactor that I could to crunch down the plague, and hopefully one of these days I'll be able to retire a plague as well. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Like I said, the combination switch also has to be redone with reactor, but I'm not too keen on doing that right now, as I like to do things slowly, take my time, make sure everything works, and don't cause any slowdowns in the system. And there we go, folks. Just a simple change, and I'll probably be doing this more often as the year goes by with some of the other plague devices that I have. I might change my heating and cooling system. That's something I really don't want to do, but we'll get to that later on, maybe into the next video. Okay. Have a nice day, folks.